Welcome, brave souls, to Haunted Earth, Terror Beyond the Grave. This season, we're venturing into the world of abandoned train stations, where lonely platforms and rusted tracks hold stories that refuse to die. Our destination tonight? A tale that will make you think twice before collecting forgotten relics, the ticket that never expired. It all begins with a man named Arthur Finch, a collector with an insatiable appetite for the peculiar. He didn't just collect stamps or coins. Arthur sought items with stories. The more macabre, the better. His apartment was a museum of the strange, filled with curiosities that whispered tales of their past owners. One rainy Tuesday, while browsing a dusty antique shop tucked away in a cobblestone alley, his eyes fell upon it. It was a single, unassuming train ticket, yellowed with age, its corners softened by the passage of 100 years. The ink was faded, but the destination was still legible. A town that no longer existed, wiped off the map by a forgotten plague. The shopkeeper, a man with eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 secrets, warned him. "That ticket, sir," he rasped, his voice a dry rustle of leaves. "It carries a heavy burden. They say it brings bad luck, that its original owner never reached his destination and is still trying to complete his journey." For Arthur, this wasn't a warning. It was a certificate of authenticity. The thrill of owning such a cursed object was irresistible. He paid the small price, a grin spreading across his face, and took the ticket home, placing it proudly on the mahogany desk in his study. He felt a sense of triumph, believing he had captured a piece of history, a fragment of a ghost story to call his own. He had no idea that he hadn't captured the story. The story had just captured him. That night, as the city slept and a profound silence settled over his apartment, Arthur was jolted awake. A sound echoed through the hallway, sharp and deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. 3 distinct raps on his front door. His heart hammered against his ribs. It was well past midnight. Who could possibly be visiting at this hour? He crept out of bed, his bare feet cold against the hardwood floor. He peered through the peephole, but saw nothing but the dimly lit corridor. Shaking his head, he dismissed it as his imagination, perhaps the old building settling, and returned to bed. But just as he drifted back towards sleep, it came again, louder this time, more insistent. Knock, knock, knock. This time, a shiver of genuine fear traced its way down his spine. He grabbed a heavy book from his nightstand, his hand trembling slightly, and cautiously made his way to the door again. He took a deep breath, braced himself, and swung the door open. Standing before him was a figure straight out of a bygone era. A train conductor, immaculate in a crisp, dark uniform, complete with a peaked cap pulled low over his eyes. His face was impossibly pale, like polished marble, and his eyes were dark, hollow voids that seemed to swallow the light. A faint, cold mist seemed to curl from his shoulders. The conductor slowly raised a gloved hand, palm open. His voice was a low, hollow whisper that seemed to come from a great distance, yet it filled the small hallway. "Ticket, please?" Arthur stared, momentarily paralyzed. This had to be a prank, a very elaborate and unsettling prank. A nervous laugh escaped his lips. "Right, very funny," he stammered, trying to regain his composure. He remembered the old ticket on his desk. Playing along, he thought, might be the quickest way to end this bizarre encounter. "One moment," he said, forcing a smile. He hurried to his study, snatched the century-old ticket, and returned to the doorway. He handed the slip of aged paper to the conductor. The man took it with a deliberate, chilling slowness. His fingers were unnervingly cold as they brushed against Arthur's. The conductor inspected the ticket, then gave a slow, formal nod, tipping his hat slightly. "Thank you," he whispered, the words hanging in the air like frost. Then he turned and simply vanished into the darkness of the hallway. Not walked away, vanished. Arthur stood there for a long time, the cold spot where the conductor had stood seeping into his bones. He eventually locked the door, his mind racing, trying to rationalize what he had just witnessed. He convinced himself it was a dream, a hallucination brought on by the story from the antique shop. He finally went back to sleep, though it was a fitful, uneasy rest. The next morning, Arthur Finch was gone. His bed was empty, the sheets undisturbed. The front door was still locked from the inside. There was no sign of a struggle, no indication that he had ever left. The police were baffled. It was as if he had evaporated into thin air. The only clue they found was a pair of men's dress shoes, placed neatly side by side near the old abandoned railway tracks at the edge of town. An officer who picked them up noted something strange. The leather was still warm, as if they had just been taken off. Back in Arthur's apartment, as investigators dusted for prints and searched for answers, a detective noticed something on the mahogany desk in the study. Lying exactly where Arthur had first placed it was the train ticket. But it wasn't the yellowed, faded artifact from the antique shop. This ticket looked brand new, the paper crisp, the ink a deep, dark black, as if it had been freshly printed just moments ago. The journey was complete, and a new ticket was waiting for its next passenger. Want to uncover more stories like The Ticket That Never Expired? Delve deeper into the mysteries of our haunted world by exploring our other videos. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more horror stories from beyond the grave, and don't forget to follow and subscribe so you never miss a chilling tale.